Good Monday morning, everyone. Yes, I'm coming on a few days early because I could not wait until Thursday to share this with you. But my goal when I share these videos is to flip the script, to change your perspective on the way that you possibly see certain situations. I remember when I was younger and I'd get into these conversations with my mom, and she would get so irritated and frustrated and say to me that I could make the devil curse because I always challenged what was being said, whatever it was, and not challenging in a rebellious type way, but from a point of view that says, well, have you considered this? And so that's my goal when I share these videos, to ask you, have you considered this? Have you considered an alternate way of looking at things? So I want to talk a little bit about loyalty. I often describe myself as being loyal to a fault. And when I say that, what I'm implying or directly asserting is that I have been loyal in situations that maybe have been difficult for me, that I've considered a trial or a tribulation. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But whenever I use loyalty in that manner, it often brings with it a challenging situation that I have committed myself to staying in just because that's my nature. I'm loyal to a fault. Well, this morning, I was listening to this message, and so I flipped the script on that, right? Instead of saying loyalty, I flipped it to faithfulness. And follow me a little bit because I want to build this for you. So when I look at it as faithfulness, right, instead of saying I'm loyal to a fault, what I'm in essence saying is that I'm being faithful in situations. Now, I want to stop right here and be clear, because there are some situations that I don't necessarily think one should endure or one should be in, but that's where you have to be led. Some people call it the inner voice. The inner voice that I call is Holy Spirit. So I'm led by Holy Spirit, and you have to be led in terms of those situations, because there might be situations that you're in you should have never been in to begin with, but there's grace and mercy. We all make mistakes. You learn and you move on. And so there have been situations that I've been faithful in, and I needed to stay in those situations. Like I said, I would say I was loyal to a fault, but really it was faithfulness. And so this morning, when I had that change of perspective, that really caused me to see that loyalty as faithfulness in a different way, right? Because when I described that being loyal to a fault, I likened it to the times when I was in situations that were difficult for me, that were challenging for me, that were trials for me, that I was continuing to endure. But this is what I've discovered. Two things I want to share with you really quickly. And I'm sure there are more than two things, but I'm just going to focus on two things. So when we are faithful in situations that we've been called to endure, we've heard the prompting. There are situations that we do not want to be in, but we must be in them because there is a purpose to that situation. So here's two things. Training. So being faithful in a situation that is trying is training ground. It is preparing you for where you're headed. It is showing you what the things that you should do and the things that you should not do. Remember, I've said this before, everything can be your teacher if you let it. The second point I want to bring to your attention is foundation. When you are being faithful in a situation that your flesh wants you to just run away from, you're building a solid foundation. And that brings to mind Romans 5:3. Because remember, this is key. I describe those loyalty situations to a fault as trials and tribulations. But what happens is when we have tribulations bring about perseverance. And perseverance, proving character, and proving character, hope. That's Romans 5:4. And so it develops within us character, right? So that when we come up against situations that challenge our principles, our mind, our soul, our very existence, we have cultivated a foundation that we can withstand. Many people are so concerned with what happens after we die, not really taking careful consideration of the life that you're called to live. And this life is not always fair. I haven't found a book that states that we are owed a fair life. Even King David of Israel, who wrote the Psalm 23, even when he was talking about God's provision, lying down in green pastures, leading him beside still waters, calming his soul. David was quick to say that even though when he walked through the valley of the shadow of death, those are dark times. So he knew that God would be with him. And so when you are being faithful, remember, we're changing loyalty. When you're being faithful in situations that are challenging and trying, you are within you is being cultivated a solid foundation that you can withstand any trial or temptation that comes your way that would seek to take you out of your best life, out of your best self. You can say no to those behaviors. You can say no to those attitudes. You can say no to those mindsets that would want to keep you in a lowly state, that would want to keep you in an oppressed state, would want to keep you in a less than victorious state, that would want to reduce your existence to far below what it should be and what you deserve. And that is the value of you and your humanity and the beauty of your unique individual self. So I just wanted to say that, flip the script on those situations. And another thing before I close, I realize that the message that I have is not for everyone. I shared it before with Paul and Apollos. Paul said he planted, Apollos watered. So I recognize that there are certain people who will be drawn to what I say, and there are those who aren't. And that is completely okay. Let this message be for those who find some use for it. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and be blessed. Happy Monday.